Hi, everyone. This is, perhaps we could say, a momentous day because I have in front of me Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, the main theme to listen to today. And that is one that has been on my list for a very long time. And I know eagerly awaited by many of you for a very long time. Michael Gordon Oldfield is an English musician, songwriter, and producer who adopted a range of musical styles throughout his career, including progressive rock, world, folk, classical, electronic, ambient, and new age music. Runs the gamut. Though primarily a guitarist, Oldfield played a range of instruments, which included keyboards and percussion, as well as vocals. I love the way they have vocals included as a range of instruments in there. Tubular Bells is his debut studio album released in 1973. Oldfield, who was 19 years old when it was recorded, played almost all the instruments himself. Tubular Bells was one of 10 classic album covers from British artists commemorated on a series of UK postage stamps issued by the Royal Mail. Its contribution to British music was recognized when Oldfield played extracts during the 2012 Summer Olympics opening ceremony in London. This is a big piece, I understand. Well, today I will be listening to the Live at Montreux performance from 1981. Let's just get started. That kind of dancing motif. One of the things that gives it this kind of dancing, I'm going to even say something like dancing starlight, twinkling, dancing quality about it, or a candle flame that's flickering and dynamic, active, without sounding hectic, is the way the motif is. Actually, we're hearing two different iterations of it. Bum, bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, ba-dum. Okay, if I were to count out, dum, bum, ba-dum, and then we have bum, bum, da-dum. Those are two equal parts, right? Dum, bum, ba-dum, dum, bum, ba-dum. But that's not the only thing that we hear, because we also hear in there another one which has a couple notes more there. It's not the exact same length and it's not quite as symmetrical. Dum bum ba dum bum 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 da dum. You hear it's not quite equal. Dum bum ba dum bum. This one has this extra note here. Dum bum ba dum. And so they are alternating. Dum bum ba dum bum bum da dum dum bum ba dum bum 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 da dum. And that extra note thrown in, that extra small beat, that asymmetrical element, not only makes the overall motif repetitions not quite perfect repetitions, and so we're alternating between the symmetrical one and the asymmetrical one, and then symmetrical, asymmetrical, symmetrical, asymmetrical, back and forth like this. It's a classic technique used in 20th century classical music, and you hear it a lot. It's inserting a little bit of extra time at a carefully chosen point. And at the same time, both of those iterations are so recognizably of the same cloth that we feel this, it never settles into square. Imagine if we heard dum bum ba-dum bum 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 bum ba-dum. It starts to feel, should I say, rather like Carol of the Bells. Quite repetitive and a little bit tedious. But here, that single note inserted in every other iteration makes it dance, makes it be just like dancing light. And it is one of the things that I think makes this opening so exciting to listen to. I kind of like the way the bass is just finding its way in and becoming more present. I'm listening to the bass. Some little variation happening in the theme. It has a very orchestral tonal palette as well. Sensitivity to the colors and tones of each instrument that's contributing. I like that. So this guitar, when it enters, I was just mentioning as the music continued about how it has a very orchestrator's sensitivity to the tonal colors, the tonal palette that is being used, and how each instrument contributes something color-wise to the overall sound. And now I hear again with this guitar entering, because it has what I call the saxophone sound. It and even the way it's being played is that very saxophone-like, expressive, flexible, soft, warm, fuzzy, velvety tone even. And it's a very good choice for how to make this all come together and captures my interest, pulls me towards that guitar that's being played. Here it comes, here. When I first hear it, it's some cross between saxophone and clarinet. A little brighter here. And only here is where the percussion enters. Now the guitar is playing that main theme. And then branching off from it. I like the way this piece takes the idea of tubular bells and the musical sonic effect that they have. You know, any bells really, which, come to think of it, is also a feature of an instrument like the harp. Bells, the harp, they all have this characteristic about them. That is, once you set one pitch into motion, ringing, and you hear that ringing, not only does it take, as I've mentioned before, a new act to stop the sound, because even though it gradually decays on its own, it's very resonant, and it takes a long time for the entire sound experience to fade away. And in fact, if you're in the room with an instrument like that and you simply speak and you listen carefully, you can hear the instrument resonating sympathetically with your voice. So you strike one bell, and already, while that is the primary tone and it's ringing and shifting and changing, you already hear sympathetically other bells in the series vibrating along with it. And so you get this shimmering, well, as I was just saying at the beginning, this sort of twinkling starlight quality, the shimmering reflection, light reflecting on the water sound. And every time you strike a new note, it's simply layered one after the next after the next. And it's very hard for me to show it here on the harp. Although as I'm sitting in the room here, it can be heard, but it takes a rather elaborate mic system to be able to recreate what you can hear live, even on a harp. But if I strike one string, there are other strings already vibrating sympathetically, and as it's fading away, even as the sound is decaying, you can hear this sort of aeolian harp quality, the wind setting the strings into motion. That's another special effect that the harp does. And so you add more notes to it, and they all start to shimmer and sing together. But it's a very live, living quality to it. Another way of describing it would be perhaps the way the breeze touches willow leaves, you know, and they all start to just shift and move as if the tree itself is alive. That's the sort of quality that exists in bells and harp especially. Why am I talking about all of that? It's because what he's done here is he's captured a bit of this quality in this piece of music. While I don't yet hear any tubular bells themselves, maybe we will get to that or maybe not. I don't know if it actually features tubular bells, but it's the quality of bells, of tubular bells or any kind of bells. And the layering and the shimmering and the dancing, the light and the living quality, which has been captured in the musical motif, the way that the piece is developing. I love all of that. But I also love the way in which, instead of taking some tubular bells and saying, let's make a piece of music on here that fits the instrument, instead he says, let's take the essence, the living quality of that, and let's create a piece of music that brings that to life, even though it's other instruments playing it. I love that. And I feel that sort of shifting, light, dancing quality as the musical motif is being handled and shaped and developed, decorated, improvised on. I love all of that. And the other thing, which he's captured very well, is the not just the resonance, but the tonal color shifting. It's a very colorful experience with bells or harp, because since it's such a long period of time for each note to decay, and each of these notes layers on the other, there's this colorful. That's why I think of it in terms of light, because all the different colors blending and giving different shades, and even a little bit of aurora borealis effect here, isn't there? And that is such a special quality of bells, or I'm also bringing in the harp because it also exists with the harp, that you don't find so evident in many other instruments. And that is the quality that he's captured as being really idiomatic to tubular bells, and says, let's capture this and bring it alive in this piece of music. The different layering of sounds. There's something so familiar about this tune. Something about that tune makes me think of a sung piece of music. I don't think he's quoting a specific song, but there's something incredibly song-like, anthem-like even, about this melody here. So expansive, and it's beautiful. I like the harmonizing that they're doing too. It works incredibly well. For an instrumental piece, to bring in such a song-like quality is so special. I can imagine when I'm hearing this, I hear it as if it's being sung with words. Let's hear the build up again. Here we start preparing, stepping on the brakes, expanding, broadening, taking our time. It sounds so familiar and singable. Oh, they do bring voice in. Even the inclusion of voice. I'm still thinking about how this is capturing so many different elements of bells, and there is a very vocal, smooth tone that you hear with ringing bells. It's almost as if this piece is kind of an analysis of the bells as an instrument. And as I'm saying this, it feels like such a great example of what it is that we gain from music when we break it down and analyze it and tear it apart and see all the parts and pieces. It is kind of like this music here, where, okay, we could go listen to some bells. We could. And be like, oh yeah, those are great. But when you start tearing it apart and appreciating highlighting every little element and picking out, oh, that is a beautiful feature, and that is something special to the instrument, and that, or to the song. It is one of the things that I, as a musician, find to be such a beautiful experience. And sometimes on this channel, occasionally, someone will comment and say, you're approaching it too analytically. You missed the point. It's all about the experiencing the piece as a whole. I don't dismiss that experience. I am a musician, after all, and my goal is to create or to hear an entire experience. But the breakdown, the tearing apart, is another way of experiencing music, which also has incredible beauty to it. And it seems like this piece, what I'm hearing at least so far, is an actual musical demonstration of the kind of experience, the kind of beauty, the kind of appreciation that we can gain, that we can have when we start tearing apart and analyzing all the different elements and appreciating. Because it's not just a matter of dissecting for the sake of dissecting, but it's to appreciate every small detail, every fine quality, and to highlight it, to revel in it even. And so when she comes with her voice and she sings, that's not a bell. But when you listen to bells, you hear a sort of silvery, vocal, smooth tone, rather like a voice. And so this is the kind of not only exploration of this whole idea of tubular bells, but also a way of approaching music. And the thing that impresses me is that Mike Oldfield had the ears and the appreciation for so many layers and nuances and tonal colors that he could not only tear it apart, then create an entire original work around all of these dissected parts and pieces of the sonic experience of bells. And it's so beautiful. You notice how the piano in the background is still keeping a little bit of the chiming quality. You hear the strike, but we're enjoying the vocal quality. Silvery, shimmering, smooth. And this is a whole different feel, isn't it? It's the percussive side of it. Because every bell has to be struck. It's the more the physical side of it. I like that piano glisten there. And that was fun. So remember, I just commented on the piano bliss. And now we hear it echoed by this sort of guitar solo moment. And he gets to the end. Same thing. It's like it's building up some great celebration. But instead we get this. Again, so melodic. And here's the same melodic motif being carried by the guitar. And now passed back here to the keyboard. It starts to feel like a folk dance sort of. Like it's building up and building up, layer by layer. That was an interesting detour. So I was hearing and I was hearing it as a sort of almost like it wanted to a accelerando to pick up in tempo and build up to a sort of frenzied dance finale type piece of music. But instead of letting it go that way, he said, oh, hold on, we're not done yet. We're not going there yet. And took it into that really intimate and delicate duet trio with the organ and the two guitars. And then after that, it's kind of broken our momentum and allows this next portion to be a whole different feel. Again. There's that descending bliss again. And here we are again, gradually moving towards something. We get the impression that we may be heading towards a climactic moment. Building up in intensity. Ooh. Back to the shimmering, like we had at the opening of the piece. Okay. This is fun and funny. Okay, and this brings out something else that I was reluctant to say actually about the piece. I was reluctant, but now here we are, and it's begging to be said. With this guitar, whatever he's doing there to get that sound, it's almost a sort of dulcimer, hammered dulcimer or other dulcimer-like instrument sound. And at the same time, we come back to this idea that what he's done with his musical motif and the way he's developing it, he's staying so close to traditional folk dances. Sometimes I think, oh, it resembles Eastern European folk dance. Other times, oh, it resembles something from the British Isles or something like Irish jig or something like that. And it's bouncing around. It's not anchoring itself in any single locale, but it's staying very close to this sort of traditional musical type. Is it classical? Is it folk? Is it rock? With this piece, I want to say it's just music. He's not anchoring it in any specific geographical tradition or stylistic tradition. He has managed to tap into the incredibly human, innately human, inborn musical instinct that resides in all of us, no matter where we are in the world, no matter what kind of music we find ourselves attracted to. And in this, he taps into our love for colors, for textures, for dance, and for music. And that is what he has managed to bring to life, to embody in this piece. It is very much, at least to my ears, built off of the idiomatic sonic qualities of tubular bells or other kinds of bells or similar instrument like a harp. And those we could even say ancient instruments. And so now here we have this rather dulcimer like sound. Ding 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 ding. In an Irish jig type. It's great. I like the little percussion behind it. I like the way they lean into that. And we want to focus on that, but you notice the voice is singing a melody that works so well with it. Which now, the chimes are picking up. The brass is picking up her voice. And we move away from that folk dulcimer sound, and now it's more back to this incredibly singable melody. Playing with the rhythms, going back and forth here. Chromatically rising. This is the same little motif that we heard earlier in a completely different style. And it keeps going and going on. That was really nice. So this is what you've all been aching for me to hear for so very long. And I understand why. And I really enjoyed listening to it and, experiencing it this first time around. I guess it's one that I'm going to come back to multiple times, listen to, because there's so much to explore in there. And it's one that I feel like I would really like to, and it's going to go on my list for this, to go back and sit down with it and really analyze in detail the motifs, the elements, and see how it's put together, because it's beautifully done. It's very well done. And thinking about my classical background, and I know many of you have suggested this one because you think it will I will relate to it from a classical perspective. And there are things about it, formally, how would I classify this as a form? And I was thinking along the way, would I call this a fantasy? Perhaps, maybe a fantasy, or perhaps I tend more towards, after this first listen, I tend more towards thinking of it as a theme and variations, not unlike many of the classical themes and variations that exist, hundreds, thousands of them. The way a composer takes a musical theme, a motif, a melody, something, and says, you know what, let's just sit down and let's explore how much potential this is. How many different ways can we present it? How does this, what opportunities does this give us before it becomes something other than that theme? And it feels very much like that is the kind of musical formal approach that fits this piece of music. Really a lovely one. And thank you all for pushing me all this long time until I finally got to it. And I'm sure I'll be coming back to Mike Oldfield in the future and explore more of his work, because there is a huge amount of musicality and music to be explored, if this is any example of what he could do. So, my first time hearing Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells, the theme. This was the Live at Montreux from 1981 performance, and I will see you soon.